So I was thinking I might start with the joke or a creme posting thing.
Oh, yeah. Explain a meme to me.
Okay, yeah. So Elantris takes place on the world Cell,
Right.
and Sions can be used to communicate instantly over wide distances.
Yep.
So they're kind of cell phones.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our...
So it's not a meme, it's just...
It's a joke. I mean, you can't... Visual memes don't really work very well on
Oh,
an
wait a
audio
minute.
podcast.
Cell phones.
Oh.
As in the... okay.
Wait. So, hello and welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual listener's guide to the Cosmere. I'm Nick Gorman, your co-host and a cell phone enthusiast, apparently.
And I'm your, maybe not all there co-host, AJ Gorman.
Nice. So today we're talking about Elantris, but in a more spoiler-filled speculation for the entire Cosmere, we're talking about connections between this and other, Cosmere books.
Yeah, so I was a little bit worried coming into this episode, like, oh, are we going to have enough to talk about? This is one of the first Cosmere books that Brandon wrote, and he didn't have as much in this as other Cosmere books. He was a little bit shy giving away details because he hadn't been published yet when he wrote this. But I don't really have that concern anymore. There's still a lot in here.
There's a lot in here, yeah. I don't know, something that stuck out to me in this read that I hadn't, noticed in previous rereads. There's something with Weird where he's got some sort of, investiture, right? He clearly has access to fortune. He sent Fionn, the assassin in training, after Wraithen, and he had to have sent out Fionn before Wraithen had turned in order for Fionn to get there and know exactly where to find Wraithen.
Yeah, so there's actually some annotations on that. I have a quote here, if I can find it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, I still haven't read the Elantris annotations. Good thing you're here.
Okay, here it is. The second is to set up Wyrn as a more mysterious and more powerful character. I definitely meant to imply that Wyrn managed to see limitedly into the future and set Fionn into the place where he'd be able to slay an important traitor to Fjorden. I also thought Fionn's appearance a nice tie back to the early chapters.
It was a nice call. I mean, not a nice callback, but
Well, it's nice not to have to introduce random people.
Yeah.
That you somewhat familiar.
It does kind of spin, Wraithen was merciful to Fionn, right? I mean, he did, basically exile him, back to the homeland, but, he was contemplating, killing Fionn.
He was?
Yeah, because he had 2 letters, and one was, anyway, yeah.
Oh, if he wasn't complying, yeah.
Yeah, then he was going to send him with the one that would have Fionn executed.
It's cutthroat business religion.
Well, yeah, if you're a, warrior priest.
But anyways, this kind of made me think that, the seeing in the future, this is something that we know that shards can do.
Well, certain kinds of investiture are more able to see in the future than others, right? They have different access to fortune, and because Odium can see into the future in Stormlight, but also Renarin can.
He can?
Yeah, he gets visions of the future in Oathbringer and Rhythm of War.
I really need to reread Stormlight.
Yeah,
there's so much.
There's a lot. I mean, yeah, but that's a plot point.
Of the last book, and I've only read that one once.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'll remember, maybe. But anyways, I think we should give some background about the shards in regard to Cell, because one of the things I'd like to preface is that we know a lot about Cell and things going on in the history, but almost none of it is really in the book itself.
Not in Elantris.
A lot of what we know we learn from other books, or we learn from Words of Brandon.
Yeah.
So if you think that I have no idea what they're talking about, it's because, well, if the only thing you've read is the book, then yeah, you wouldn't know. So we're going to try to frame these things in a way that is informative and not betting that you've read all of the online stuff.
Yeah, so I guess, speaking about the shards, the in-universe essay in Arcanum Unbounded explain, the one before, I think it's before the Emperor's Soul, but might be placed right before The Hope of Elantris.
Written by Chris.
Yes, it's written by Chris, and she explains that that the shards of devotion and dominion were on Cell, but they were splintered a long, long time ago.
And it is kind of heavily implied that Odium was the one that shattered the two of them.
Yeah.
And when devotion and dominion were shattered, the shattered remains are what became the Scions and the Skays.
Is there a difference between shattered and splintered?
Yeah. Do not ask me to explain it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into that. We'll probably have a whole episode devoted to the difference between those
Fair
things
enough.
because I have read the difference between them.
A dozen times. Yeah. Boy.
It has not stuck to my brain.
That's okay. But if you couldn't tell from the way they behave, the Scions are splinters of the shard devotion. They need to serve all the time. They need to be devoted to somebody. They need to love them. And I don't know.
Unconditionally, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. I mean, like, think about the way Wraithen Scion was treated.
Like crap.
Like crap, where, literally gets locked in a box all the time, but then still comes out and just so eager to please,
Yeah.
Kind of makes, it feels, creepy to me. It makes me uncomfortable anyway. But that's because they are embodiments of devotion. And
the Skays did not make an appearance in Elantris. I think there was one reference that I still missed on my last reread.
Yeah, Deloff mentioned something as an aside when the Skays are right. The Elantrians can be killed or hurt, something like that. It's in chapter 63. I remember making a note about that because I missed it my first two reads also.
Look at you referencing chapter numbers off the top of your head. You didn't even look at your notes. I
have my notes in front of me. You don't know.
Okay.
You don't know.
I was going to be very impressed.
I mean, it's not in my notes.
So anyways, going back to kind of the history, so we have the Skays and the Scions out in the physical realm. In the spiritual, or in the cognitive realm, there's still some powers floating around there, and collectively those two remains of those two shards are the door.
Yeah.
The power that all of the magic systems on Cell use.
Well, and do we want to talk about there, because there is a Skays that appears in the bonus chapter in the 10th anniversary edition. It's the dark glowing ball that is sarcastically talks to Hoyd.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this bonus chapter is not on Brandon's website. I think we mentioned that last episode. So you have to get your hands on a 10th edition.
10th anniversary.
10th anniversary edition.
Just check it out in the library like I did.
Right. Yeah. So, do you want to summarize kind of what went on in that chapter?
Yeah. I mean, Hoyd shows up. Hoyd the beggar sat on the side of a mountain, and basically he is realizing that whatever trick he was going to do to make himself an Elantrian didn't work.
And we don't know what that is.
Well, he was somehow involved in him starting out being wrapped up in bandages. And he was right near a pool.
Presumably a shard pool. And
presumably the same one that we saw in Elantris, although it is described differently. Anyway, so he's there, and the whole scene is only like 2 or 3 pages long.
But he has Hoyd has a conversation with a Skays.
Yeah, and the real, I guess, the things that come out of that is that Hoyd appears to learn that, Skays, and I think more generally, little pieces of investiture are, they have more emotions than he realized. They have more, sapient thoughts than what he originally realized. And I guess the behavior of the Skays in that scene is very, you get the feeling that it's a splinter of Dominion once you know to make that connection.
But it's very unlike Scions. The Skays was kind of talking back.
Well, it's insulting. It keeps mispronouncing his name as a not being Hoyd. It was a Hoyd. And he's like, oh yeah, that's what I said, Hoid. And it's just very, very insulting to Hoid the whole time.
Domineering, you could say.
Hey.
One of the other big kind of things that we get from Words of Brandon is the earthquake that caused the Riode was not caused by natural events.
I mean, and it seems the timing on it still confuses me because it seems like it is related to the same thing that shattered the Shattered Plains in Stormlight Archive, which we also don't know exactly what that is.
No, we don't.
But we know that it was that they were both supernatural and presumably had something to do with the death of a shard or a splintering of a shard or a shattering, whatever.
Which somewhat makes sense because shards are very much connected to spiritual, cognitive, and physical realms. So if something big were to happen, it would affect all three realms.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, or maybe you were talking about this to me, but I wonder if the Irie, the society of Elantrians in the cognitive realm that we see in Secret History, I wonder if they were mucking around with trying to get their hands on one of the shards, either Devotion or Dominion, and they accidentally, caused the Riode. I suppose we'll find out.
I think that could be a possibility.
So I guess that's another, thing to talk about in terms of connections between Elantris.
Well, I think you glossed over the fact that there are Elantrians that were not in Elantris.
Yes.
At the time of the Riode.
Yes. So we've got the Irie in the cognitive realm. We see them in Mistborn Secret History, and we see one of the members of the Irie, Rena, as the sorceress in Tress in the Emerald Sea. Where else do we see Elantrians in other books? I mean, I think that's really...
And we see these people in other books sometimes in the physical world, but a lot of the time in the cognitive realm. And we should also mention that the cognitive realm in and around Cell is known to be exceedingly dangerous, a very big no-go zone.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to Cell is that we have seen a religion kind of be co-opted to help take over an entire planet by the shard autonomy.
Yeah.
And that feels very much like what is going on with
Wyrn and Yadith, right?
Well, that's not the religion. What's the religion name?
Shudareth?
Shudareth. So it kind of makes me feel like autonomy is operating on Cell, but we also have a word of Brandon that Wyrn is a follower of Dominion.
Yeah, but because it seems pretty parallel there, where the plot of the Lost Metal is that there's an avatar of autonomy who wants to basically take out the competition from Harmony, and then to basically take over Scadrial. And what's going on in Elantris is that Wyrn is trying to eliminate the competing religions, and so that Yadith can emerge from the subterranean empire. And it's like, wow, that does seem, either it's, just a trope that Brando Sando likes, or Yadith has something in common with Trell. Anyway, I suppose we'll find out more about that in eventual sequels to Elantris, because I know that there's at least 2 planned.
There is? I know of 1, but okay, it makes sense. He likes trilogies too.
Yeah, well, I think he's just talked about it in State of the Sanderson online before, where he does an annual newsletter about, what books are coming in what time frames.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the religious part, apparently in the sequels, we're going to be learning more about the Jeskar religion.
That's good.
Because in the annotations, Brandon says it does hold an important place and will likely to be developed more in the sequel. Jeskar is older than most of the world's religions. So I'm starting to wonder if Cell was one of the planets that was populated before the shattering of Adonalsium.
Yeah, that's something.
Because one of the things that we notice with this with the magic systems on Cell is that it's very different from the magic systems that we see elsewhere in the Cosmere. Elsewhere in the Cosmere, your intent matters a lot for the magic, whereas in writing Aeons, intent doesn't really play into most of writing the Aeons.
So in the 10th anniversary edition, there's an extra essay before there's an extra essay before the Ars Arcanum, or I guess it's
right. And they do point out there are a couple aeons that intention does matter.
No, it's one of the basic requirements of aeons is that an Elantrian can never accidentally draw an aeon. They have to be intending to do it.
Right.
And it says that Chris has tested that and proven that you can't accidentally draw an aeon.
You can't. Right. You have to write it on purpose. But as far as
okay, no, I think I get what you're saying. Where it's not like Awakening, where you have to have a strong image in mind,
like a capital I intent. Yeah. For example, Aeon Omai, which is the Aeon used to represent love and benevolence. It requires Brandon has this on Coppermind that this Aeon is a little bit unique because it requires much of the Elantrian who draws it. The Aeon will be weak unless the one drawing it feels a sincere affection for those around him, making this Aeon very difficult to use in tense situations. This strange requirement has fascinated Aeon Door practitioners for centuries, as it is one of the few Aeons which requires something other than skill in drawing from its Elantrian. So this magic system is very different from a lot of the magic systems that we see elsewhere. So we do know that there were planets populated with people and other magic systems before the shattering of Adonasium. So I'm wondering if Cell was one of those places because it is so different from other magic systems out there.
Well, and going back to one of the some of the things that make Cellish magic more unique is that it is location based, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is unique, and they all require some element of precision. Where
if you draw a line too long, you've messed it up.
Yeah, or like in the climax when we see the teleportation Aeon used, the length. It's an input to the length of he inputs a standard there as well, right? So if he drew that line too long, it would have teleported him somewhere else, even if it wasn't screwed up or whatever.
All right, and one of the things, and we see this not only in Aeon Door, but we see this also in
the soul stamping forgery.
In soul stamping,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, but we're talking about Emperor's Soul next anyway.
Well, just to mention that we'll mention, that's next. But just to say that at the center of the soul stamps is a map of Maypong.
Yeah.
So everything is pretty location based, which is not something that we've noticed in other magic systems. There is something here that I wanted to mention. Okay, I have a quote here from Brandon. Birth in a certain location on Cell gives a certain affinity for the local symbols in their usage. To use the magic of another region, one would need to have a rewritten connection to that area instead.
Interesting. Huh, cool. Well, that's actually kind of a nice segue into. So I wanted to sort of check off where we see Elantrians in the Cosmere. Like I said, we've already talked about the Eyrie, and the Sorceress and Tress, but also Shy becomes an Elantrian at the end of the Lost Metal, and Hoyd at the end of Tress also becomes an Elantrian. And that's sort of a nice through line to the bonus scene in Elantris at the end of the Anniversary Edition, where
he actually achieves it.
Yeah, he actually, it seems like it's a goal of his that he really wants to become an Elantrian. Additionally, there's in Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, Elantrians are used as sort of a baseline for, quote unquote, highly invested entities. So,
as in that they're pretty high, right?
Yes.
Highly invested.
Yeah, but yeah. So like when
to say you're more invested than an Elantrian is saying you're extremely invested.
Yeah, super magical, right? The other thing I wanted to talk about is characters in Elantris that show up in other works. Going back to the Lost Metal, Kyan's daughter Kai's appears in Lost Metal under the code name. Code names are stupid.
She's a little cheeky.
Yeah. Well, which kind of matches her character. I like her appearance in the Lost Metal more. I thought she was really annoying in Elantris, which I forget how old she's supposed to be, but like she's at an age where she's supposed to be annoying. Like I get it. Anyway, that's K-Ice. Galadin is one of the 3 travelers in the Way of Kings interlude that takes place at the Pure Lake. And I don't know how people made this connection, but the Hoid who enters the pool in Elantris, the one who,
when they first find
the pool, he's allegedly the lighthouse keeper in Shadesmar in Oathbringer. So I don't know how people make that connection, but
it's been confirmed.
It's been confirmed. I think we actually hit all of my notes for today. Was there anything else, connection-wise between Elantris? It's, the magic system in particular shows up in a lot of places in the Cosmere. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot one out of my notes. In Rhythm of War, there is a Sion that is used by Shallan to talk to Mraize.
Well, she was put in a room with one.
Yeah, well, she had the box or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's only confirmed to be a Sion at the end, but she's totally confused by how it works.
For any of you out there who know the difference between slivers and
slivers, splinters, and shards.
Between slivers and splinters. I do want to note that Elantrians are not slivers. And I do have a note here that Aeon Door can be used near the pool, but it's forbidden. The reason why is a read and find out.
Interesting.
But I did find that was a very weird detail to put in to the Elantris, where when they go into the tunnel system to go out into the mountain to climb up to the pool, Brandon makes sure to hit upon the fact that there's no
the
gunk.
Aeon stop. Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah, because they didn't use Aeon Door down there, so there wasn't any light for the moss to feed off from.
Yeah.
But we've seen people use, have we seen people use magic by the other shard pools?
Yeah, that's one of the things that happens in the climax of the Lost Metal, where Autonomy is trying to form a shard pool to make a perpendicularity for her metal men to invade through.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mistings and Feruchemists, actually not the Feruchemists, but the Mistings use the shard pool as fuel for their allomancy, and then they dissolve the shard pool. So that way it thwarts Autonomy's invasion. So I think we have read that one and found out. I did not make that connection, though. Hooray!
Yeah, but I mean...
So they probably...
probably just because if you use any magic near it, it's
going to use that as fuel.
It's
going to use that as fuel. Wow.
At a faster rate than the pool collects.
Yeah.
Still seems weird that they wouldn't use it at the tunnel entrance when they were still miles from the actual shard pool, though.
Miles?
Well, they had a long walk up the side of the mountain.
Oh, fair enough.
So I don't know. I don't know if I'm completely satisfied with that answer.
Oh, makes sense to me.
There might be
more.
There might be more, I think. This is going to be all out of order. But we know that the way that Wit got to become a Elantrian was that the sorceress let him into.
He gets an invitation. Is the way it's phrased in Tress. And it also kind of lines up with the essay in the anniversary edition, where they need to be in the... All right, you can make me open up the book again. So the 4 things needed for Aeons are precision, intent, birthplace, and an invitation. So they...
What's the invitation for?
For normal Elantrians is the Sheod.
Oh.
So for an Aeon to work, it must be drawn with absolute precision. It, as with other forms of investiture, intent is very important. They can't be drawn by accident. Birthplace, everybody on Cell has a spiritual connection to the door, but the way it's accessed depends on where they're born. Mm-hmm. So Aerolines, are the only ones who get to be Elantrians, unless they are, have their connection manipulated somehow.
Well, Teoish people can also be, because they're not too far removed from Erelon.
And then they need an initiation somehow, and it appears to be random so far, although obviously the events of Tress kind of make that, there are ways to have it be not random too.
Right. And speaking of Aeons being intentional, I have a quote here about how the magic works. Elantris is like a massive power conduit. It focuses the door, strengthening its power in Erelon.
I mean, yeah.
So the point is that Elantris was made in the shape of Aeon Reo in a way to focus the door, so their power is, well, their magic is more powerful because of they are located near this big Aeon, and that's why it gets weaker when it's further away. It's not that the door is concentrated kind of in the spiritual realm around
it's not concentrated.
Elantris, it's because it's the whole Aeon is being...
So it's like, the way I picture it is that there's a giant pool of investiture. I mean, God, that's a terrible word for it. There's a big tank of investiture in the cognitive realm, and then it gets funneled in through Elantris. And so right on the other side, because of the Aeon that Elantris is in the shape of. And so if you're nearby, you're basically standing right at the outlet of the funnel, right? So you get, blasted with, you've got a lot of pressure there. Whereas the further you go away, there's, less and less pressure.
All right. You're not an engineer, are you?
Oh, it's not like I have a master's in fluid mechanics or something.
Okay, I think that's enough to chew on right now.
Yeah, I was about to say,
We mentioned a lot of things.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all of them later.
Yeah. So, thanks for listening to our podcast. This has been Cosmere Casual. If you have any feedback for us, our email address is cosmerecasual@gmail.com. No spaces, no dots, no underscores, all one word. And our intro and outro music is licensed through Tribe of Noise. You maybe check that out if you need any licensing for music for any projects you're working on. The artist is Ketsa and the song is Odyssey. If you have any feedback for us, our email address is cosmerecasual@gmail.com. No underscores, no spaces.
And until next time, keep your wits about you.